Chapter 34, Part 1. "This year you'll celebrate with us," said Mr. Milgram. He meant the holiday called Hanukkah. It was the first Jewish word I had learned. He had wanted to include me the year before, but Mrs. Milgram would not allow it. "No," she had said, groaning from her mattress. "He is not a Jew. I am not his mother." "She is not herself," Mr. Milgram had said. Still, I was not allowed. For 8 nights I had sat in a corner and watched. Now it was Hanukkah time again, and Mr. Milgram had gone, and Uncle Shepsel had walked outside, being a Lutheran now, and I was in. On the first day, Mr. Milgram told me the story of Hanukkah, how long ago the Greeks tried to destroy everything Jewish. See, this is not the first time. How the Jews were outnumbered and had no chance against the Greeks, but beat them anyway. How the Jews celebrated by lighting an oil lamp, but the celebration would have to be short because there was only enough oil to last for 1 day. And then a miracle happened. The oil lasted for 8 days. And so, Hanukkah is 8 days when we remember that time, and remember to be happy and proud to be Jews, and that we will always survive. This is our time. We celebrate ourselves. We must be happy now. We must never forget how to be happy. Never forget. Happy. I had not heard the word since Mr. Milgram spoke it at the last Hanukkah. I had asked him the question that had been on my mind since then. "Tata, what is happy?" He looked at me, at the ceiling, and back to me. "Did you ever taste an orange?" he said. "No," I said, "but I heard of them. Are they real?" "Never mind." He stared at me some more. "Did you ever—" He stopped and shook his head. After more staring, he said, "Were you ever cold and then you were warm?" I thought of sleeping with the boys under the braided rug. Cold, then warm. "Yes," I blurted. "Was that happy?" He smiled. "That was happy." I felt again the cuddled tint of warmth. Sometimes I would stick my nose out to better feel the warmth on the rest of me. "Under the rug?" "No," he said. He tapped his chest. "Happy is here." He tapped his own chest. "Here." I looked down past my chin. "Inside?" "Inside." It was getting crowded in there. First angel, now happy. It seemed there was more to me than cabbage and turnips. I looked at Janina sitting potato-faced on the floor. She hadn't smiled since the burning cow. "Janina does not have happy." He squeezed my shoulder. He smiled sadly. "No." Mr. Milgram took the silver candle holder from the pill cabinet and lit the first of the 8 candles. The twins came over to stare at the flame. The other new people stayed on their side of the room. Gunshots echoed in the streets as Mr. Milgram said words over the candle flame. The flame gave a faint yellow tint to his frozen breath. Then he sang a song. "Sing, Janina," he said, but Janina only gave a grunt or two. Then he pulled Janina and me to our feet, and the twins also, and he made us hold hands, and we danced in a circle while Mr. Milgram sang, and the candle flame quivered, and somebody screamed in the night. The smile never left Mr. Milgram's face. I copied his smile to best I could. Janina's shoulders slumped, and her shoes dragged across the floor. I wondered if the orphans were dancing in a circle. Then Mr. Milgram took something, and another something, from his coat pocket. They were wrapped up in newspaper. He gave one to Janina, one to me. I tore mine open. It was a comb. I couldn't believe it. I remember the canister full of combs in the barber shop. I remembered Yuri combing my hair. Now I had my very own. I threw off my cap and sank the comb like a spade into my hair. It stuck. I pulled. I couldn't move it. I dropped the comb and began tearing apart the thatch of hair with my fingers. I tried the comb again. Using all my strength, I was finally able to pull the comb through my hair. I could feel the lice and their eggs peppering the back of my neck. I heard the ticking onto the floor. In the light of the candle, I combed and combed my hair. Not until the next day did I notice that Janina's gift was still wrapped in the newspaper. "You're not going to open it?" I said. She pouted. "No!" So I opened it. It was a comb just like mine. I gave it to her. She threw it on the floor. I picked it up and began combing her curly brown hair. "See," I said, "doesn't that feel good? It's better than picking out lice with our fingers." She did not answer. She did not smile. She did not stop me from combing. Chapter 34, Part 2. On the second day of Hanukkah, when Mr. Milgram went for the silver candle holder, it was gone. Mr. Milgram seemed surprised, but I wasn't. In my world, things existed to be stolen. With the other family in the room, everyone knew who did it, and why. If you knew who to deal with, things could be traded for money, and money could be traded for food. Mr. Milgram accused no one. He simply looked out the window and said loud enough for all in the room to hear, "What a shame, when a Jew will steal from Jew." He found a candle stub and lit the tiny wick with a match. He looked at Janina and me. "Who will be the menorah?" The menorah was the candle holder. "I will," I said. He gave me the candle. He made for it a collar of newspaper so the hot wax would not drip on my hand. I stood at attention and held my arms out and did my best to imitate a menorah. Mr. Milgram said the words and sang. I asked him if I could sing the song I learned at Dr. Corsak's orphanage. His eyes glistened in the light from my candle. Yes, yes. So I sang my song, a singing candle holder, and Mr. Milgram and the twins danced in a circle and laughed. Janina refused to get up from the floor. So the days of Hanukkah went. When the candle burned away, Mr. Milgram struck a match and said that maybe it would last for 8 days, like the oil in the story. But it burned away before he finished speaking. "So," he said, "we ourselves will be the candle flames." He put his hands on his chest. "Feel your hearts, how warm they are." And I did. I could feel my heart getting warm. I could feel the flame in my chest as we danced in a circle. Each night I went out for food, but Janina stayed behind. She never left the room. She never spoke. She even stopped complaining. I combed her hair for hours each day, but I could not comb a smile onto her face. I was also losing my happy. Then an idea came to me. Although Janina did not like her comb, I knew of something she would like very much. Almost every time she ate, I heard her mutter, "I wish I had a pickled egg." I knew about pickled herring, but not pickled eggs. I thought, I'll find an egg and a pickle. There was only one day of Hanukkah left. That night, when I went to the other side, I forgot about everything else. I could not remember seeing an egg in my smuggling searches, but then I had not been looking for eggs. I knew eggs were kept in cool places, so I looked in iceboxes and basements. I went to all the best houses, plus the Blue Camel Hotel, and found not a single egg. As for pickles, I was hoping for the fat, juicy kind that Yuri used to eat, but the best I could do was a jar of pickle spears in someone's pantry. I was traveling light this night, so I just took a couple of spares from the jar and put them in my pocket. Now all I needed was an egg. I lurked down alleyways, jiggling strange doors and windows, trying to get in somewhere. There were more ruins now. After the Russians' bombing, parts of heaven were beginning to look like the ghetto. At last I found an egg. Not in a great house, but in a shoemaker shop. And not in an icebox, but sitting on the scrap of leather on a workbench. I cradled the egg in my hand. I knew how fragile they were. I could already hear Janina's joyful squeal. On the way back, out in the street, I heard a whistle blast. I thought nothing of it. The jackboots were after someone. The whistle kept getting louder, and then a shouting voice, "Jude! Jude!" I didn't understand. No one ever stopped me out here. I ran. A second voice was shouting. Snowflakes pelted my face. I kept my fingers loose about the egg. I could not run in a straight line, for there were craters in the streets from the bombings, and I could not lead them to the hole in the wall. I darted into an alley and into the shadows and deep into a heap of rubble. I crouched, panting, pressing the cool, smooth egg to my lips. The shouts and whistles grew faint. I waited for a long time. The snow piled on my hat and collar. I could smell the pickles in my pocket. I warmed the egg with my breath. The sky was turning from black to gray when I made my way back to the 2-brick hole. I reached the other side and laid the egg in the snow and wriggled after it. I had been having no problems getting through lately. Big Henrik's walloping must have worked. The moment I returned to the ghetto side, I realized why the jackboots had been after me. I had forgotten to take off my armband. I had been announcing to all of Warsaw, "Look, I'm a Jew, escaped from the ghetto." It was a wonder they hadn't noticed me sooner. Darkness, my friend, was leaving. I had to hurry. I ran. Dashing around a corner, I tripped over a body half hidden in the snow and went sprawling on the sidewalk. The egg flew from my hand. At first, I was happy for the pillow of snow, but when I picked up the egg, I saw in the dim light that the shell was cracked. I was heartbroken. All the dangers it had survived only to come to this. And then I noticed that it was only cracked, not broken apart. There was no yellow seeping into the snow. I didn't understand an egg that cracked but didn't break. It was a miracle. I ran the rest of the way, veering around bodies. Mr. Milgram was already awake when I got home. Janina was sleeping. I showed him the egg and pickle spears. "For Janina," I whispered. "Happy." He looked at the egg and pickle spears, but he looked longer at me. "Look at the egg," I said. "It doesn't break. Is it a miracle?" He studied the egg. He held it to his ear and shook it. He nodded. "No," he whispered. "The miracle is you. The egg is hard-boiled. It will not break." A hard-boiled egg? This was new to me. I hoped Janina would like it. That night I gave it to her. Her eyes bulged like birds' eggs. She peeled off the shell and shoved the whole egg into her mouth. She closed her eyes and made little sounds as she ate it. "Wait," I said, "pickles." I held them out. "Pickled egg." She waved the pickles away. "Pickled eggs are purple," she mumbled through the mush in her mouth. The twins were staring, their teeth going up and down with hers. When she finished eating her egg, she hugged her father and said, "Thank you." "Thank Misha," he said. "It was his idea. He found it on the other side." She hugged me. I was surprised she could squeeze so hard. Uncle Shepsel returned. He came to the room only to eat and sleep now. He believed that the less time he spent with Jews, the more Lutheran he became. But even Lutherans get hungry, and when he came in the door, he sniffed the air and said, "Pickles!" To my surprise, Mr. Milgram took a pickle spear from his pocket and gave it to Uncle Shepsel. As for me, I had been awake too long. I lay down. I felt a comb in my hair, combing.